So your metabolism is going to be much more active in certain portions of the day, right? And your hormones are going to be behaving differently at certain points of the day. The first rule is your biggest meals are the best to have earlier in the day, right? And then your smaller meals are best to have towards the end of the day or the end of your day. Generally speaking, it is going to be the most beneficial thing to do to finish eating a little before sundown, right? So you can't eat a lot, or you can't stop eating a lot earlier. But an example would be like, let's say if you started eating at 6 a.m., you can stop eating at 6 p.m. It's a good eating window. If you're intermittent fasting, right, you can shrink it down to an 8-hour eating window, right? So you could do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and finish eating at 2, and that would give you an 8-hour eating window. And then you pretty much go from 2 p.m. Onward in a fasted state. That may be challenging to do, right, if you're very averse to going to bed on an empty stomach. So the question remains, well, do I really have to do that? How beneficial is the intermittent fasting? Well, it depends on person to person, right? So it depends on your macros. Let's say your dietary fat is like 25% of your macros. Let's say your diet is pretty starch heavy, right? You're eating rice, you're eating oats, you're eating nuts, you're having tofu, lentils, right? A bunch of cooked foods, things like that. You're having very cruciferous greens like cabbage and broccoli, things like that. That digest much slower. It take a longer period of time to break down in your digestive system. In that case, the fasting would be very beneficial to do, to pretty much give your gut a break, right? So you can really load up on your foods from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and pretty much fast throughout. And if your foods are heavier, then that can hold you over throughout the fasting window, right? So if you're more so engaged in a more conventional way of eating, that would be the most ideal and beneficial thing to do, right? Now, if you're doing like a high raw vegan style of eating, right? Let's say, you start eating at 6 a.m. or maybe even 7 or 8, right? You'd have your biggest meals would probably be earlier in the day. You'd probably have your cooked meals somewhere around 4 o'clock or something, maybe 5 or even 6 o'clock, right? But the thing is that you can eat things like apples and grapes and stuff like that on into the evening. Especially if you're doing the straight up raw vegan diet, right, where all of your food is raw. Then you don't really necessarily need to engage in the fasting if your diet is generally more raw vegan, right? Because raw foods, they break down and digest in your body really quickly, right? So, I mean, you think about like watermelon or cantaloupe or something. These things are like 80 to 90% water, right? So this stuff is going to be very easy to digest. All right, grapes, that's another one. Very water-rich foods, berries, things like this, they digest very quickly. Bananas, those digest very quickly. These things are not heavy on the gut, right? So the rules apply a little bit differently there. Now, once again, your macros do matter. Generally speaking, intermittent fasting is going to work best for people where their dietary fat is around 25 to 30% of their macros. So higher dietary fat works very well with fasting, right? Because you don't want to consume a high level of dietary fat and then add a bunch of carbs on top of that, right? Because fat metabolizes and digests much slower, okay? So if you front load that stuff throughout your day, then it would be good to have a tight eating window where it can be, an eating window of 4 to 6 or 8 hours. If your diet is more so carbohydrate rich and fruit dominant, well, the rules are very different. When it comes to protein consumption, the bulk of your protein should come in the morning and early afternoon, right? Or midday, earlier on in the day. You don't really need to go to sleep on protein, right? The best thing to go to bed on is carbohydrates, right? And so your goals matter. Are you trying to gain muscle mass, right? Are you optimizing your plan for actually gaining weight? Well, that's a different story, right? Then you want to have your carbohydrates increase pretty substantially. Then it would be very beneficial to add in a larger cooked meal and then have like some pineapple, mangoes, and things like that up until bed, right? And so fats and proteins are very good to front load in the early ends of your day. So generally, what would be a good idea is if you were to start eating at 6 a.m., you want to load in your most protein-rich foods and your most fat-rich foods earlier in the day, and finish eating those things by, like, let's say 4 o'clock. Then when it comes to 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that, something wrong with your eyes? Oh, okay. So when it comes to something like that, carbohydrates are good stress reducers, specifically when it comes to fruits, right? So the reason why I'm a big advocate for fruit eating later in the day is because it will greatly be beneficial to sleep quality, right? Folks, double tap the screen to like the stream while I catch up with y'all comments here to see what I missed. And I got to talk about blood pressure, and I got to talk about diabetes and whatnot here, and hypothyroidism, kidney disease, stuff like that, because those things matter as well. I just had grapes and a pear. There you go. What does going to bed on an empty tummy do for you? It could make your sleep more difficult, that's for sure. You going to bed hungry is not comfortable at all. It's an extremely stressful thing. My cousin's cancer came back 3 times. And this time, she is juicing for 100 days. And I'm sorry to hear that, man. That battling that cancer, that thing sounds relentless. How do you stay full? Yeah, so we get into that. Staying full is not hard with many small meals throughout the day. True. Yes, that controls diabetes better than doing it that way. Let's see. Did you once live in North Carolina? No, I did not. Let's see. My A1C is high. I just got tested yesterday. Well, what I'm saying tonight is gonna be greatly beneficial to you. I'm gonna jump into 75 days of raw. Okay, interesting. Hello from Arizona. What's going on? Welcome. Good to see you in here. Plant-based Nicole Richey, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. I'm gonna shoot you a text message too to see, how things are working out for you. But in any case, yeah. So when it comes to something like weight loss, a great idea would be loading, let's say if you're doing high raw vegan and you're trying to improve insulin sensitivity, reverse diabetes, and lose weight, let's say, as well as improve your blood pressure. Let's say these are the things you're trying to do. It would be very beneficial to do things like you start off your days with, let's say, plant-based milk, 4 tablespoons of chia seeds, 2 sliced bananas, a cup of blueberries, so you could do like a chia pudding and then load it up with different fruits and stuff like that in it. And then have that as a very protein-rich food. You can even do 8 ounces of coconut yogurt with 2 tablespoons of chia seeds mixed in. You can do cinnamon if you want as well, right? You can put that in there. And then add some plant-based milk and a banana and blend it up with a banana and make kind of like a pudding to have in the morning, and then do mixed berries and stuff like that in it, right? And then you can add walnut chunks and things like that as well, right? That would be something that's very beneficial for getting in good healthy fats, alpha linoleic acid, alpha lipoic acid, EPA, things of this nature, as well as good gut bacteria, right? Probiotics. And protein, right? That's a pretty protein-rich meal. I mean, if you think about 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, that'll be around 6 grams of protein. 8 ounces of coconut yogurt, that'd be around 12. Let's say if you do like a quarter cup of walnut chunks, that's like another, I want to say 6 grams of protein right there. The 2 bananas, that's another 2.5 grams of protein. The blueberries, that's another 1.5 grams of protein. So you can add those things in the meal, and you can easily get like a 45 gram, meal right there. And then if you're doing pea protein isolate, and you blend that in with the bananas and the plant-based milk with the coconut yogurt and all that, then you can get up to like 60 something grams of protein for your first meal right there, right in the morning. So that's a very good meal to have too in the beginning of your day. Typically, first meal is very good to have a water-rich meal, some type of melon, mangoes, or pineapple, something like that, something very water-rich to get hydrated first thing in the morning. And then let's say if you do a workout after that, then the second meal would actually be the one that I just described, right? The protein-rich meal. So if you're getting your workout early in the day, early in the morning, then you can have that first protein-rich meal by 10 o'clock or something like that, or 8 o'clock, depending on what time you start your day. And you can knock out like the majority of your protein needs right in that second meal, right? And then of course, the next meal follow-up after that would be like, let's say some type of fruit bowl with mixed nuts. So let's say you do like 4 servings of fruit with a quarter cup of cashews or something like that. So that'd be another 8 grams of protein, maybe even 10, depending on what fruits you eat, right in that bowl, right? And so by those 2 meals, and this is all raw foods, I didn't mention anything cooked so far, but even in there, right, you've already cleared like all of your protein needs for the day. And then after that, it could just be fruits on throughout the day. Couple bananas there, couple cups of pineapple here, a few cups of cantaloupe there, and you can just kind of just have small meals when you feel hungry to satiate your hunger cravings with the fruits, and strawberries and kiwis throughout the day, teas, staying hydrated, things like that, and then get to bed around 8, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, right? Now, the reason why that works so well is because, number one, you should adjust your food according to your lean mass, right? So the goal is that with your food, you want to use your food to feed the body mass you want to keep and not feed the body mass you want to get rid of, right? So that's kind of the golden rule there. Now also, if the goal is to reduce body fat, then you also want to reduce dietary fat. It's a lot easier for your body to store fat as fat than it is for your body to convert carbohydrates into fat and store it as fat. So if you're trying to reduce fat storage, then the best thing to do is eat foods that are much more difficult to store as fat. Carbohydrates, your body burns through carbohydrates a lot easier than anything else. As far as protein is concerned, well, you don't really want to use protein as an energy source, right? Protein is more so the building blocks of cells. It's not really something you necessarily want to be burning for energy, right? It's kind of like in construction, it makes a lot more sense to burn gas or to burn wood or charcoal. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to try to burn bricks, right? You build with bricks, you burn other things that are a lot more flammable, right? So, the same principle kind of applies. Let's see. I eat a lot of fruit, yeah. I mean, it can be like 15 to 20 servings of fruit a day. That'll cost about $100. Well, I'm telling you, I can afford to eat that way, and I'm not rich at all. Nancy, thank you. I appreciate you. Much love to you too. Do I eat vegetables cooked? Yeah, sometimes. I don't eat a whole lot of cooked vegetables. Hello from St. Louis, welcome. That fruit looks juicy. True. Can I ask your age? I'm 36. Cinemage Studio, what's going on? Welcome. Good evening. You have smooth, beautiful skin. Thank you. I appreciate you. Too much walnuts is bad. Well, too much of anything is bad, yeah, for sure. Will you be posting this video on YouTube? Yes, I will be. Bernie. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's Bernice. Bernasia. I remember how you said it earlier today. It's not Bernice. Is it Bernasia? Did I get that right? Bernasia? Did I say it right? I've been trying to get people's names right. But anyways, good to see you tuning into the stream. Good call we had earlier, so appreciate you tuning in. You make me feel old, Remsen. I'm 12 years older than you. You look, girl, what you mean? You look young, though. You look good for your age. What you talking about? If people were to look at you, they wouldn't be able to guess how old you are. Would a lot of fruits be bad for type 2 diabetics? Actually, no. Fruit is some of the best foods for people who are diabetic. Remsen, what can assist in palpitations to seize off? Heart palpitations primarily are a result of chronic stress. Generally speaking, if you have more of an anti-inflammatory diet, that's going to be is going to be pretty conducive to the heart palpitations. I've actually had people come to me. So far, all the people who have come to me with heart palpitations have anxiety. They get panic attacks. They have high cholesterol and high blood pressure. They get poor sleep quality and deal with chronic levels of stress. And one of the best things that you can do is increase the amount of carbohydrates you consume, eat more water-rich foods, right? Get your potassium, magnesium, and vitamin C up, right? And eat more raw, easily digested foods, right? So those are some of the things. And basically, increase your food volume via fruits. Dedicated for Life, what's going on? Good to see you in the stream here. Yep, fruit is some of the best foods you can eat for weight loss, yeah. So, the reason why I'm a big fan of eating like high raw vegan or just raw vegan in general is because you got a lot more freedom too. You don't have to have so much restriction in how many meals you eat during the day, right? Now, one thing that's a very good habit to do is, I like to have a couple melons lying around, right? So right now, I've got a watermelon, a cantaloupe, and a honeydew that I haven't cut into yet, right? I've got like a few bundles of bananas. I've got about, 8 to 10 apples. I've got a few grapefruit. What I do is I accumulate fruit, and then I periodically get more fruits. And I like to get the fruits that have more of a shelf life. So like melons are very good for that. They have a longer shelf life. Apples have a longer shelf life. Berries have a very short shelf life, right? So berries would probably be the most expensive thing that you'll get. Like berries, like, cherries, cranberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. These things have a pretty short shelf life. But they're life-changing. But the things that are a lot cheaper and would make up the bulk of your calories would be things like bananas, pineapple, papaya, mango, cantaloupe, things of this nature, right? But you accumulate over time. It's pretty easy to be full and get enough food. but front loading your proteins and your fats, so that's would be all your nuts and seeds, avocados and whatnot, towards the morning and early afternoon, and then coast through the rest of the day, just having, carb-rich, water-rich fruits up until bed. If you are diabetic, then it would be a very good idea to, let's say, supplement with, let's say, magnesium glycinate, right? It'd be very good to supplement with something like that. To supplement with zinc picolinate and chromium picolinate, right? These are some good trace minerals to supplement with as well. I'm not really so huge on supplements, but they are helpful. And then as far as herbal teas, right? Moringa tea, matcha tea, ginger, turmeric, ashwagandha, chai, right? These types of things. And, you can drink these types of teas 2 to 3 times a day. And you can have your foods paired with the teas, right? It works best when you drink the tea and then eat your food, or drink the tea as you eat your food, right? So you can do both. And that really helps to regulate your blood sugar, right? And improve insulin sensitivity. Now, the fruit in and of itself, like you think of like apples, right? If you've got high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, apples have quercetin, which is extremely beneficial for maintaining the smoothness and flexibility of your arteries, right? Apple pectin. Apple pectin is very good for clearing out your arteries as well, right? And preventing the calcification and hardening of arteries, right? Maintaining the softness of your vascular system. Also regulating the amount of calcium in your bloodstream, right? And as well as producing short-chain fatty acids that metabolize fat, right? Or speed up the metabolizing and oxidation of fat, so that you can increase the rate at which your body burns fat. So it expedites the fat loss process. Everything in this bowl is high in potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, which are needed in order to absorb and use iron in order to create new red blood cells. And creating new healthy red blood cells is very beneficial for regulating your blood pressure as well, right? So when you have an adequate level of healthy red blood cells, that improves oxygenation, which increases healing and fat metabolism, as well as sleep quality and mental and emotional well-being, right? The reason why the glucose, people talk about sugar in fruit, and they say, well, with the fruit, isn't that a lot of sugar? I guess, yes, you could say, right? I don't know what a lot means. I mean, you could say, well, I have 10 fingers. I have a lot of fingers. You could say that, right? Let's say, if I only need 3 fingers to perform a specific task, but I got 7 other fingers, technically you could say, well, you got a lot of fingers. You only need 3. You got a whole other 7 fingers that you could use, right? You could say that. So when we say the term a lot, we can very loosely use that term. But the fact of the matter is that what we really need is enough. And the body's primary source of energy is sugar, right? What we call sugar, which is really glucose, right? And that powers our brain. That is required for the synthesis of hormones, muscular contractions, everything, right? So you need plenty of sugar, right? So the problem isn't sugar. The problem is when you get sugar and it's unaccompanied by water, vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and whatnot. If you're just getting raw sugar and it's not getting anything else with it, well, then that becomes problematic, right? Getting sugar without the fiber, the water, the potassium, the magnesium, the quercetin, the copper, the iron, the manganese, all of this type of stuff. Getting the sugar without all of those things It's like buying a car without the seats and the steering wheel and the brake lights and the mirrors and the windows, right? Right? It's like you need all of its parts, right? So when we talk about sugar, sugar is not the problem in the same way that like car tires aren't the problem, right? But if you want to get from point A to point B, well, you're going to need a full vehicle rather than just car tires, right? You need a full vehicle. Food is like the vehicle, right? You need the food with all of its parts. Gigi, good to see you in here. Thank you for the wait. What is the best apple to eat? I don't know what the best is to eat, but I'm a very big fan of Gala apples, Honeycrisp apples, and Pink Ladies, and Granny Smith apples. Those are my personal favorites. My least favorite apple are Macintosh apples. Those are my least favorite. So somebody probably gonna be mad at me for saying that if they're like Macintosh, but I gotta keep it real. Let's see. When you buy the tuna fish or sardines in oil, it's really not good for you, only water. First of all, we don't do that seafood stuff. We don't do that, okay? All that environmental contamination and whatnot. I don't think it's a good deal. Seeded grapes versus unseeded grapes. What's your take? I mean, the same thing. The only difference is the only reason why you would get seeded grapes is because you like eating grape seeds, or you want to use the seeds to start growing grapes. Can I get a meal plan from you? Absolutely. I do this full time, right? So I'll make you out a personal diet plan. I also do training plans. Before me being a nutritionist, I was a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, performance enhancement, and corrective exercise. Right? So my background originally is in fitness, but since getting on the plant-based journey, I had to add nutrition to the list. So now I'm a complete coach, right? I think the only thing I'm probably missing now is a psychology degree. But yeah, I do it full time, definitely. If you want to book a call with me, if you want a diet plan, you want coaching, what you could do is you can hit the link in my bio. You go to my profile right here, right? So you tap right here. And you go to my profile. If you're not following me, definitely give me a follow. And go to the link in my bio, and then you'll see a list of all the options and things that I offer, and you can pick the option that is that's right for you. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. The funny thing is that's so true, right? No salads at night. I mean, you could be. I'm not a whole lot of a salad person lately. I just like to just load up on the fruit. All right. I don't want no fruit without seeds. Oh, well, then I guess buy fruit buy fruit with seeds. Hey, whatever you want to do, right? What fruits are good for inflammation? Pretty much all of them, to be quite honest. Some are probably better for inflammation than others. Typically, berries are very good for inflammation. Cherries, right? Things like that are very good for inflammation. But all of it, really. I mean, cucumbers are good for inflammation. Watermelon. Grapes are very good for inflammation. kiwis, grapefruit, tangerines, pears, right? All that stuff is really good for inflammation, right? I mean, it could be butternut, squash, mangoes, all that kind of stuff. Bananas, very good for inflammation. And ginger tea with turmeric is good for inflammation. True. I just mentioned that earlier in the stream too. Ashwagandha tea. What I'm gonna do actually this week is I'm gonna get ashwagandha. I'm gonna get ground ashwagandha, like the powdered ashwagandha. And I'm gonna start drinking ashwagandha tea before bed. So I just put a quarter teaspoon of ashwagandha in my mug, fill that up with hot water before bed, and boom. So you can do that as well. All right, so yeah, ashwagandha, that's a good one. Moringa and matcha first thing in the morning, that's really good for reducing inflammation. It's very good for blood pressure as well as type 2 diabetes. Moringa in particular. Also, if you're diabetic, taking berberine. Right? So you can actually get berberine. You can put, I think you can get berberine in like a powder. You can also get it as a tincture, and you can get it in a capsule. Right? And that's very good for improving insulin sensitivity as well. You said, "Dang, done missed the whole live." I'll be posting it on my YouTube channel. Agnes, what's going on? How you doing? Good to see you. Look at that, Agnes coming in, showing everybody in the stream love, bringing that positive energy. We like to see it. Oh, by the way, Tammy, if you're in here, definitely sign off, okay? Give a shout out in here. Shelly, what's going on? Thank you for the rose. Appreciate you. Ashwagandha, I like the powdered one. I got golden milk. There you go. Yeah, you could do ashwagandha and turmeric. Spinach or kale? I mean, both, to be quite honest. You can mix the two. I like a mix of spinach and kale. You know. Do I eat veggies? Yes. Yes. I say no seedless fruit because of the government messing with the fruits. Alright. What is your YouTube channel? All of my stuff that I have on the internet is all under the name Tribe by Noir. So if you type in Tribe by Noir in Google or any, kind of, well, I don't know about any social media platform. I don't do all platforms. I'm mainly on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So yeah, you can search Tribe by Noir and that'll pop up on YouTube. How do you properly clean your fruits and vegetables? I like to soak my fruits and vegetables in baking soda and apple cider vinegar. So I'll fill up a container or something, some type of bin or something, or the sink with water. I'll add baking soda, vinegar, whether it be apple cider vinegar or white vinegar, into the water. Stir it around in there and let my fruits soak a bit for a few minutes. And then rinse it off and, let it dry off and then bag it up and that's that. When you are borderline diabetic, the best thing you should do is drink plenty of water. I mean, I guess drinking plenty of water would help. Or, you can have a water-rich diet. That would also help too. Will going plant-based help with fertility? Generally speaking, yes. I don't want to get too into the weeds on fertility, but basically a lot of your fertility, I'd probably say most of your fertility really depends on blood flow, right? Because when you optimize blood flow, that in turn then optimize hormonal function and hormonal production, and then that then results in higher levels of fertility. So secondly, if you balance your pH level and alkalize your body, that also helps increase fertility because it reduces oxidative stress when you increase your pH balance, right? When you alkalize your body and flush acid from your body, right? Acid, waste products, things like that, that reduces the oxidative stress on your body, and that also helps to be conducive towards having good hormonal balance and blood flow, which also then in turn improves fertility, right? And then improving your gut microbiome, right? So getting probiotic and prebiotic rich foods in your diet, right? From a variety of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, things of this nature, as well as herbs and spices, that is also going to in turn greatly improve your gut microbiome, and then that will in turn improve fertility. So there's a variety of different ways that a plant-based diet would improve fertility if it's a whole food plant-based diet, especially rich in mostly raw foods. How many times a day do you eat? Probably like around 5, maybe 6. Folks, double tap the screen to like the stream. Let's show some love on the stream. Try to tick things up here a bit. What is a typical day of eating for me? A typical day of eating for me is probably going to be my raw oat pudding in like 4 fruit bowls. Or 3 fruit bowls and a bunch of bananas. That's what it's been lately. And 2 slices of my favorite flatbread. Sometimes it may be a bunch of fruit bowls and then 1 bowl with an avocado, half cup of cashews, 1.5 cups of cooked chickpeas with my red lentil sauce, and then the rest of the day I'm just having fruits. It may be that, right? That could be another day of eating for me. Or it could be my raw oat pudding, 6 cups of watermelon, a grapefruit, 3 tangerines, 2 kiwis. The next bowl would be a couple apples, a few cups of grapes. The next meal would probably be about 4 bananas or so, with a 1/4 cup of, let's say, peanuts or cashews. Right. So it varies. It really depends. Or I may do fruit bowls all day. And then for my cooked meal, I might do 4 cups of basmati rice, half a cup of red lentil sauce. Really, it comes out to 1 whole cup of red lentil sauce with 4 cups of steamed broccoli. It might be that. It really depends. I have kidney disease, trying to go plant-based. There's a lot of restrictions. When you have kidney disease, the best thing you can do is eat raw, because the raw foods are going to be like alkalizing for your body, and that's going to relieve the stress on your kidneys, because alkaline forming elements push acid. It makes it easier for your body to remove and release acid, right? So if you think about energy is constantly moving, but it just depends on the rate that energy is moving. Kidney disease is energy stagnation, right? That's why, like, if you go through kidney failure, that's just complete energy stagnation. Energy flows from positive to negative and back to, and it loops, right? Or negative to positive. So negatively charged ions push positively charged ions push negatively charged ions, and negatively charged ions push positive, right? And so there's a loop. There's an energy loop. And one of the choke points of that energy loop is your kidneys, right? So now, a lot of your human health is like traffic control. When your kidneys become inflamed, and they become very stressed and they start failing, that choke point, right? I'm calling it a choke point because that's the basis where energy stagnation starts to form. When you alkalize your body, that helps to reverse energy stagnation, right? This is not like me saying some woo-woo spiritual stuff. This is scientifically measurable stuff. We can measure energy in frequency, right? In hertz, right? So people refer to gigahertz, right? For example, GHz. So you can measure the frequency in your body. So if you look at healthy cells under a microscope and they're vibrating, right? And that's a frequency. Sick and dying cells vibrate very slowly, or when they're dead, they don't move at all, right? If you want to revitalize your body, you have to increase the vibration in your cells. And the way that you do that is you alkalize the environment that they're in so that they get more oxygen, and then they'll start waking back up again and really moving. That movement in your cells, that resembles metabolism, metabolic activity, right? And so when you get that metabolic activity up, that removes the blockage of energy stagnation. And this is where you can then begin to rejuvenate your kidneys. Because now if you look at your kidneys under that microscope, sick kidneys, the cells are not really moving much, they're stagnant. But now revitalizing your kidneys is basically where you increase the metabolic activity of your kidneys, and then your kidneys can actually start regrowing healthy cells and rejuvenating and healing. And then that's when you remove that energy blockage, that energy stagnation. And then your kidneys are no longer a choke point causing energy stagnation. And that's essentially how you reverse kidney issues. Does frozen fruit have the same potency as non-frozen fruit? It does, actually. Freezing fruit is a way of preserving the nutrients of the fruit, right? When you freeze a fruit, it's no longer susceptible to oxidation. And if the nutrients in the fruit is no longer susceptible to oxidation, that's literally how you preserve the nutrients of the fruit. So yeah, frozen fruit, I mean, it's completely legit. Yeah, absolutely. How can I get more protein besides eating meat? I mean, there's a lot of protein-rich foods, right? I mean, we got, well, first of all, there's protein in everything, right? But I mean, we've got oats, we got kamut, we've got kasha, we've got quinoa, we've got lentils, all types of beans, peas. All fruit has protein in it. I mean, you're going to be getting a gram of protein per serving of fruit. You know, you can get an abundance of protein in, like, you know, things like seeds, right? So yeah, I mean, getting protein is not that difficult to do in a plant-based diet. One mistake that people make when it comes to protein is people overestimate how much protein they need. So you have people out here who will be like 155 pounds, 25 to 30% fat, and think they need 140 grams of protein every day, right? In regards to your protein should be calculated according to your lean mass in kilograms. So most people only need 1 gram of protein per kilogram of lean mass. So you take your overall body weight, you convert it into kilograms by dividing it by 2.2, because 2.2 pounds is 1 kilogram. Then what you do is you subtract your body fat percentage from your weight in kilograms, and that's pretty much how you get your lean mass in kilograms. And that's how you calculate your protein. All right? This is 2 apples here. Hi, Zaddy. I thought Zaddy was a name for rich white men. Maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know. I was watching a podcast, and I guess somebody alluded to that, or they said that, or maybe I misinterpreted it. I don't know. But nonetheless, Miss Joy, thank you for tuning into the stream. Good to see you in here. Folks, double tap the screen to like the stream. Let's get the liggity likes up in the stream. Dang, you make that fruit bowl look totally delicious. It is totally delicious. Lewis, what's going on? Welcome. Do I use any seasonings? Of course. Love seasonings. Absolutely. Do you know about how many calories you eat per day? I don't know. I eat in between 24 and 2,600 calories a day, if I had to guess. Agnes, thank you for the 3 guacamoles. Just be in a calorie deficit to lose weight? Tell that to the woman who's 5'4", 260 pounds, who eats 1,200 calories a day. It's a lot more complicated than that. If it was that simple, people wouldn't need diet plans and stuff to lose weight. You know what the logical conclusion of just being a calorie deficit to lose weight is? Just eat 2 Big Macs every day. Right? You don't need a diet plan. Just eat 2 Big Macs and go the rest of just eat 2 Big Macs per day. That's it. Right? If you want to lose weight, If you want to lose weight, just eat 6 Snickers bars. Oh, wait, no. One Snickers bar is like what, 240 calories? Right? Something like that. So, like 3 or 4 Snickers bars. You'd be in a calorie deficit. Right? They say, how did you lose weight? How did you get down to a healthy weight? I just ate 2 Big Macs per day. Can you reverse kidney failure? That I do not know. I think it is possible. I have not been able to do that yet with anybody. Now, I've had people reverse kidney damage and improve kidney function, but they didn't have kidney failure. Agnes, thank you for the love. A little heart thingy. When you work out with lighter weights, the more conditioning you gonna be. All right. Somebody's like, protein! And then, why so many people ask me about protein? Tammy, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Where do you get your protein? I get a lot of my protein from my oat pudding, my raw oat pudding. For my raw oat pudding, I get like a cup of oats in there. I get my naked pea protein in there. Powdered peanuts. Chia or flax or hemp seeds in there. Cacao powder. Blend that bad boy up and leave it in the fridge overnight, and boom. You get like a good 60 grams of protein in there, right? Then, like, if I wanted to get more protein, right, I could do my red lentil sauce and a cup and a half of chickpeas. That meal would be like another, what, 40 grams of protein right there for that meal. Then if I add like a half a cup of rice to it, that is another 8 grams on top of that. Right? So that's over, what is that? Like, I mean, we're talking about 100, 110 grams of protein per day, something like that. It's pretty easy to get the protein. I was trying for a 7-day fruit and vegetables salad, but I fasted 5 days and lost 16 pounds. Look at that. That's some big numbers right there. I'm diabetic and doctors tell me to lay off the fruit because of the sugar in them. Well, if your doctor was a nutritionist, they would know better than that. Yes, these doctors got to get educated in nutrition, let me tell you. Scott, good to see you in here. Appreciate the love. Burr, thank you for the chilies. I got to see more hiking footage, too. I got to see that. That's some good stuff. Be up in there in the mountains. I love a good hiking trail. You're a blessing. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to be, add some value to the space. You know what I mean? Dedicated to a life of service. Right? That's good stuff. That's the ideal here. How is chlorophyll benefit our health? Chlorophyll is an alkaline forming substance, right? It's a detoxification agent in the body, right? Chlorophyll, literally, it's like a cleaning fluid in your body. If you got bad breath, you got stinky armpits, right? You got BO, whatever the case is, right? You got energy stagnation. One of the best things that you can do is get more chlorophyll in your life. Now, you'll get chlorophyll from pretty much any dark leafy green vegetable. You can get chlorophyll from spirulina and chlorella. And you can also get liquid chlorophyll supplements. You can do that too. Doctors say lay off of the fruits. If you're diabetic, please speak on that. So, now, this is kind of like one of those things where I wish doctors are educated on nutrition, because there is zero scientific evidence that demonstrates that fruit causes diabetes or worsens diabetes. There is zero scientific evidence for that. So somebody said fruit raises my A1C. Your A1C is a measure of your blood sugar over a period of several months. Okay? When you say fruit raises my A1C, that's probably not true. Unless, the only way you can say that is if you've been on a diet where the overwhelming majority of all of your calories in your food came from fruit and it made you more insulin resistant. That's the only way you would be able to make that claim. But if you're out here and your dietary fat is like 30% of your macros, 35% of your macros, you're eating a bunch of nut butter, you're eating fish and things like that, and all these fatty foods, and then you throw some fruit in the mix, and then your blood sugar spikes, and then you blame the fruit. Not exactly, right? So the primary thing that causes type 2 diabetes and worsens type 2 diabetes is fat, not sugar, right? And not fruit. I've worked with many people who have diabetes, and we've been able to improve their diabetes and reverse their diabetes, okay? I have never had a person where we put a ton of fruit in their diet and it made their diabetes worse. It's never happened, right? I'd be getting the pantsuit off of me if I was wrong about this. I can't afford to be wrong about something like that, okay? Now, you can Google right now insulin resistance, lipotoxicity. Just type in those two words in Google and watch the scientific studies come up. Type in diabetes, saturated fat. Type those two words, see what comes up. Type in the words, what causes type 2 diabetes? Type in that question into Google and then look for research papers from like NIH.gov, etc., right? PubMed, and read those studies and see what they tell you. Okay? The only people who say that, like, oh, avoid fruit if you have diabetes are going to be like bloggers, but they don't cite any scientific evidence that demonstrates that. Now, what people will do is they'll say fruit can make your diabetes worse, but then when you read their article, they do a bait and switch. So they'll go from talking about fruit, but then to actually demonstrate their point, they'll pivot to high fructose corn syrup. The problem is, high fructose corn syrup doesn't come from fruit, right? There is no high fructose corn syrup in fruit. So when people start citing scientific research that shows how high fructose corn syrup affects diabetes or insulin resistance, that's very misleading because that doesn't come from fruit. right? Now, general practitioners, physicians, right, doctors in general, they get about 20 hours of nutrition education, right? So basically less than a day. Not much nutrition education at all, right? So a lot of doctors don't know this. The primary thing that causes insulin resistance is going to be chronic stress and high dietary fat and cholesterol. That's it, right? Fruit reverses it. Now, generally speaking, if you want to improve your A1C, as far as a dietary approach, generally speaking, is going to be a diet that is predominantly carbohydrates, right? So your dietary fat intake is in between 10 and 20%. I like to shoot for a dietary fat percentage of 15% per day, right? If you calculate this according to your macros, this is going to be roughly a half a gram of fat per kilogram of lean mass. That's what your dietary fat is going to be, more or less. Okay? So I have diabetics or people who are eating a ton of fruit and they're getting like 3, 4, and 500 grams of carbs per day and losing weight and getting more insulin sensitive by the day. All right? So according to the scientific evidence, there is no scientific evidence whatsoever that shows that fruit makes diabetes worse. Diabetes is specifically in my wheelhouse. I talk about it a lot. I get a lot of diabetics who come to me for help reversing their diabetes. Right? So I've done extensive research with this, right? I have a lot of experience with this. Right? So thyroid issues, Hashimoto's, PCOS, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, kidneys, high blood pressure. I got a lot of experience with these things, as well as anxiety, depression, heart palpitations, food allergies. Right? These are things that I can speak on because I've been able to consistently get people results with these things. Donanne, she's one of my people. She'll tell you about her journey as far as using fruit and whatnot and reversing her type 2 diabetes. She's telling y'all right now in the chat. Right? I don't just be coming up on here on the stream and making stuff up. So yeah, look it up for yourself. Look up the search terms that I told you. What about intermittent fasting? I spoke on that a little bit earlier today. Intermittent fasting is going to be more beneficial to people where their macros are at least 25% and up of their macros. If you consume a lot of dietary fat, where your dietary fat intake is like 30 or 35% of your macros, it really shouldn't be any higher than that, to be quite honest. But fasting is going to be the most beneficial to people with a substantial amount of dietary fat. Let me catch up with y'all on these comments. Doctor told me to eat less veggies and more meat to get protein. Yeah, that doctor's gonna get sued giving dietary advice like that. That's malpractice. They don't be doing that. Seriously, because they'll tell you red meat is healthy. Yeah, if your doctor is telling you, oh yeah, eat more red meat, your doctor is being very negligent giving dietary advice like that. Look up red meat cardiovascular disease. Type those terms in Google, right? Go to Google and type in red meat all cause mortality. Type in those search terms in Google and see what comes up. Look up red meat insulin resistance. Type those search terms up and see what comes up in Google. And you can read the scientific studies for yourself, right? People don't even have to take my word for it. The scientific data is public. One of my favorite TikTokers. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Can you eat fruit anytime? Absolutely. Doing a fruit and nuts diet for a few months, will this improve my immune system? I'd say so. As long as you've got a good structure to your diet, you're planning things out very deliberately, right? So it shouldn't just be kind of just random. You just throwing kind of random stuff together. There should be some kind of process to how you put things together, right? To make sure you're getting a full vitamin and mineral and amino acid profile. Can you do this if you're insulin resistant? You should do this if you're insulin resistant. Yeah, absolutely. Fruit raises your blood sugar. Yeah, I mean, if you eat carbs, it should raise your blood sugar, right? It's typically what happens when you eat carbohydrates. It converts into glucose, and that glucose makes its way into your bloodstream, which will result in a higher blood sugar. When you're more insulin sensitive, you'll get less of a drastic spike in blood sugar, right? So if you're insulin resistant and you may eat like some fruit or something and it might shoot up, maybe, not for all people, but some people, it really depends on how insulin resistant they are. But what happens is gradually, as you become more insulin sensitive, those shoots in blood sugar become less and less. So you get this downward trend in your blood sugar until it levels off at where it should be. Is it okay to take heme iron supplements and drink chlorophyll water? It depends on why you're doing that. If you're taking a heme iron supplement, there has to be a very specific reason why you're doing that with the chlorophyll. I don't know why you would pair it with chlorophyll. It depends on why you're doing that. What is the correct diet? I don't know if there's a such thing as a correct diet. I mean, I think the correct diet really depends on what you're trying to achieve, what health complications you may have, what foods you have access to, what's in season. I think there's a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of questions you got to answer in order to determine what is the correct food choices, so to speak. In labs, mice are fed saturated fat to get them diabetic for research. Yeah, basically, yeah. Pretty much, like in order to study diabetes, they're like, yeah, we know how to induce type 2 diabetes, saturated fat. That's pretty much how they do it, yeah. They add high fructose in canned fruits. I'm not eating fruit out of a can, I'll tell you that. I ain't doing that. A can of fruit sloshing around in syrup? No, sir. No, ma'am. No. Absolutely not. No. No. That's a hard pass for me. Orange juice raises blood sugar. What do you mean, like store-bought pasteurized orange juice? Two of the foods highest in chlorophyll are raw spinach and raw parsley. True. I want to quickly interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important service announcement. If you want to book a call with me, you want to talk about a diet plan, or you want a diet plan, some type of coaching, support on your journey, you're trying to reverse a chronic illness, things like that, you need some help. I do this full time as far as coaching people to wellness. Whether you want to sign up for coaching or just book a call with me, so we'll have a full 60 minutes to talk about what you've been booking a call with me first, just to speak with me first. And, so before you even sign up for anything like that, you want to talk to me personally, have a call, I would say to do that first. And then if you want to continue with coaching or a plan or something like that, then, we can do that as well. But definitely book that call with me, right? And let's talk about it. We got a full hour to go over everything and get your questions answered. How does fruit reduce? How does fruit reduce it? You mean like well, first of all, fruit makes you insulin sensitive through a variety of ways. So, number one, fruit improves your gut microbiome because the fiber in fruits is one of the things that actually ferments in your colon and then serves as food for your gut flora. And that allows your gut flora to proliferate, right? Basically multiply. And when you have more gut flora and you have a wider variety of gut flora, you have a larger population of good beneficial gut flora in your digestive tract, that improves insulin sensitivity. Fruit is very rich in antioxidants. The most common one we know is vitamin C, but there's also carotenoids and polyphenols and things of this nature, right? That reduce oxidative stress. Okay? Reducing oxidative stress improves insulin sensitivity because one of the things that makes you insulin resistant, and probably the most important thing, is stress. Right? And one of the primary ways that your body responds to high oxidative stress is vascular constriction. Vascular constriction limits blood oxygen and limits the amount of oxygen that can go to your cells, including fat cells, which slows down fat metabolism. Okay? And when you have less oxygen and less fat metabolism, that equals insulin resistance. Right? So then there's that. Fruit is high in glucose, right? What we call sugar. Insulin sensitivity is a measure of how effectively your body is able to metabolize glucose and use it for energy. Your body is not going to get better at metabolizing and using glucose if you don't really consume anything that's rich in glucose. It's kind of like jumping. You will not get better at jumping by avoiding jumping, right? So people will go on a keto diet and then they'll come to me and they'll say, for some reason, I'm even more insulin resistant than I was before. And it's like, what? Because you cut all of your carbs. And so what happens is your body says, oh, we don't really eat much carbs. It doesn't really make much sense to have those neural pathways open to improve insulin sensitivity. Because why would I need to be insulin sensitive if the overwhelming majority of all of my foods are fat and protein? Right? If you don't use it, you lose it, basically. So increased fat metabolism, increased blood oxygen levels, vasodilation, reinforcing the immune system and reducing oxidative stress, improving sleep quality. This is just some of the things that fruit does, and all of these things collectively work to improve insulin sensitivity. Fructose is the sugar in fruit and does raise blood sugar unless you eat the skin fiber. No. So basically, with fruit is pretty much a 50-50 split between glucose and fructose. So out of all of the carbohydrates in fruit, half of it is glucose, half of it is fructose. Fructose goes directly to the liver. Fructose does not spike your blood sugar. Right? Glucose can spike your blood sugar, right? But the fructose doesn't really influence blood sugar, right? Because that gets parked in your liver to be converted into glucose and released later. How can I get rid of heart palpitations? Increase gut serotonin levels. Vasodilation, and improving hydration, right? So basically reducing oxidative stress in your body primarily is going to be the main mechanism. Reducing oxidative stress, alkalizing your body, right? Really, it's just a matter of dilating your vascular system and reducing oxidative stress and boosting gut serotonin. That's really it. And those things result in you getting better sleep quality. And when you repeatedly get better sleep quality, this will diminish and just end your heart palpitations. Okay? However, there's a caveat. And the caveat is, it depends on what's causing your heart palpitations. This won't work if your heart palpitations are coming from, let's say, poor posture. If your heart palpitations are coming from a tumor, right, some type of growth or something like that on your spine or on your lungs or something like that, that's causing an obstruction and affecting your nervous system, okay? So it could be that. So it depends. Now, if it's just a purely chemical thing where you just need to tweak your diet, it'll work. But if it's something about a growth or your posture, that's a different story. So some people get heart palpitations because they're very kyphotic. So their T-spine is very crunched forward. The neck is forward. The shoulders are up. They don't really have much of a lordotic curve in their lower spine. And they kind of just slumped and tight all up in here. And this limits oxygen. And then your spine isn't really effective at connecting your brain to your gut and having effective transmission through your nervous system. right? So you're all choked up in here, right? So your throat chakra is all crammed up, right? All your chakras going down your midline, even in the groin. Everything is just all tight, right? And that can cause palpitations because the palpitations signal your body, right, to open up, right? Breathe deeper, right? So when you have the heart palpitations, what happens? Your shoulders come back and your chest comes up, right? And you want to open up, right, to get more oxygen. That's your nervous system overcorrecting and forcing you out of that posture. So that could be that as well. All right. Abundantly Ashley, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you in here. Can you speak on nutrition in Florida? I don't know what you mean by that. Do I only eat fruit? No. Do I eat rice? Yeah, I don't eat rice very often. I haven't eaten rice probably in a few months. So I eat rice sometimes, but haven't eaten it in a while. What kind of apples do you eat? Honeycrisp, Gala apples, Pink Ladies, and Granny Smith apples. Those are the ones primarily that come to mind right now that I eat. For real, folks, double tap the screen to like the stream. That Tiger Eyes bracelet is beautiful. Thank you. I had this Tiger Eye bracelet since I was a teenager. Those grapes look amazing. True. Now I'm telling you, I love some good grapes. Shirley 44, thank you for the rose. Appreciate you. So somebody told me not to eat food after 6 p.m. What do you think about that? It depends on why they told you that. Maybe they have a good reason for telling you that. I don't know what that reason would be, though. Been off the dirty bird and eating fruits and raw veggies for weeks. Inflammation out of there. What's the dirty bird? Congratulations on getting rid of your inflammation. But yeah, what's the dirty bird? You mean chicken? Why does apple give me bloating? Your gut is probably not used to the fiber. Bloating is usually a result of poor gut health. Or you ate a food that is problematic for your gut. What are your thoughts on heme iron supplements and chlorophyll? Oh, I answered that earlier. What are my thoughts on... I don't know why anybody would want to supplement with heme iron. I guess heme iron and chlorophyll together. I mean, maybe a person wants to do that because they're anemic. And so they're using that to like reverse their dietary anemia, right? It could be that. I think there's better ways to reverse your anemia, but I would imagine that if somebody's supplementing with that, it's probably to deal with anemia. Depends, 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. Depends on when you started eating. Yeah. You know, typically when you start eating earlier, you can end eating earlier and go to sleep earlier. But it also depends on your goals, right? Like, are you trying to do some form of intermittent fasting? You know, it depends on what you're setting your eating window for. Why do they say grapes are bad? I don't know anybody who says grapes are bad. I don't know, but grapes are amazing. Heme iron for iron deficiency and chlorophyll to detox the body. Your body makes its own heme iron. I think really what you need is to make sure that you have an adequate amount of vitamin C, iron, and copper together. All right. So there is one supplement that I'm a big fan of, and it's called Floravital. And basically, it's kind of an iron supplement, but it's iron with copper, vitamin C, and B complex. But the supplement is basically made up of a variety of like different types of fruits, herbs, and things like that, right? So all of the iron and the copper and the vitamin C and the B vitamins come from the organic fruit and vegetable sources. So it's not like a pill; it's like a liquid that's basically derived from these different natural sources, and that works wonders for people who are iron deficient. Because essentially what happens is, I mean, if you really want to improve your anemia, you got to do it by fixing your gut flora. And you've got to get an adequate amount of vitamin C and copper, which are needed for iron absorption and the creation of red blood cells. So you can take heme iron, but you just end up right back where you started once you stop taking it, until you fix the problem. Got a question? Is pineapple and grapes bad for diabetics? No. So I eat mostly raw foods? Yes. Do I use a microwave? No. I don't have a strong position against microwaves, but I don't really need a microwave. I don't really eat cooked food. All right, folks. I got to jump. It's getting liggity late. But if you've got more questions, if I missed your questions tonight, I'll catch y'all on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Or you can book a call with me, and we can get all your questions answered that way. But yeah, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate everybody for tuning into the stream tonight. It's been real. You know what I'm saying? Let's double tap the screen and get that last push on the way out. and I posted my red lentil recipe today on TikTok for my last video. So yeah, check that out. Much love to you all. Have a good night. And I will see y'all Thursday.